Yeah, thanks. I hope you enjoy the stream. I'm just getting started. Basically simulating a typical glider ridge flight. We would get dropped off, arrow towed right up to this ridge. And, you know, from there it's kind of up to us where we go. And up to the weather. I think I'm going to extend actually a little bit to the south here. Try to get over to that next ridge over there. And that's the Salt Lake Valley out in the distance. I'm flying the Wasatch Ridge, which is a great soaring ridge, especially in the spring and fall. Still getting her trimmed out a little bit. Lift is definitely really strong with this 20 knot wind against the mountains here. It's not unusual. It's not unusual for us to get that kind of wind. Here it should drop off, and I'm going to actually move up the windward side so I don't get into the lee side of that pocket. Be nasty sink in this valley here. So better just go around it all together, punch through the wind, head upwind to the front ridge of this other Wasatch Ridge. Yeah, I just sent my first email out to my instructors and said, "Hey guys, it's time for me to get up in the air again." I used to do this every weekend. I know this mountain ridge really well, and AeroFly really models it beautifully. I have to say, AeroFly, just as this glider pilot's opinion goes, is the best glider simulator there is for ridge flying, even better than Condor. And I think it comes from their background. They used to simulate RC flight. And you know, one of the really fun things to do in RC is to build these gliders. Build a scale or even just a fun flyer. Take it up and hike up on one of these hills. Take your mountain bike it up or whatever. Follow these trails up, and you want to get right up on top of the ridge, like right over there, and just huck it off the top and fly it around. And fly for hours. That's pretty much how I ended up flying gliders for real. Took the next logical step. But I didn't do much flying last season, just too busy with other things. So this year, my schedule is such that I'll be able to do a lot of flying during the days, so I gotta make sure I get up there. All right, getting my head down here. You can see we're in some pretty nasty sink right now. Part of that's because I'm putting the nose down and going real fast. Part of that is the terrain. So this may not actually work out over here, we'll see. Pull the nose up, see if I can get some lift. If not, we'll head back to the north. I hear you, Ginger. It's a fair concern. And you know, as far as the risk factor of not having power, I honestly think in a lot of ways you're safer as a glider pilot, because you could be flying a powered aircraft and lose power anytime, right? You could have a failure. And the difference is us glider guys, we're always in that world. So we're always considering, can I glide out, can I glide out, can I glide out? And right now I could easily glide out pretty much 360 anywhere I wanted to go. So in some regards, I think it makes the flying actually safer. You know, you can get real reliant on that engine. And I've been on flights with guys that are flying like a beaver or something like that when I was out fishing, and they'll get up some canyons where if they lost power, we are screwed. It's something I would never do as a pilot. I'd always be staying on the ridge or something, maintain a glide ratio out. But you definitely are at the whim of nature a little bit, and you have to act accordingly, fly accordingly. So this ridge didn't work out too hot. Not bad. It's good for stretching the distance, but I think the real flying is going to be up north. So I'm going to cut back across this ridge. You guys can see my variometer here. It's giving me a pretty good indication of lift. Right now we're in good zero sync. So I'm going to extend again, get out in front of this canyon here, and then skirt right over there. This is AeroFly, Ginger, since you asked. I was just mentioning it's actually a really great sim for glider operations, in my opinion. I'm not sure I've got the thermal stuff dialed in yet. I was actually really pessimistic about the thermal modeling, and then last time I was playing with it, I hooked into something that felt really accurate and really natural, really similar to what I'm used to. But I can definitely vouch for the ridge flying. It is dead nuts, like flying this ridge for real. It's almost exactly the same experience. Yeah, no, that's okay. That's okay, man. Okay, should pick up some lift here soon. If not, you notice I'm down below this ridge line, so I now have fewer options than I had before. Just tell you a little bit about glider decision making. It's like that. Get into a position like this where you lost all access to that back ridge, and now your decisions are over here. However, got a pretty good lift point here, so I think I'll actually thermal here in a second. Gain some altitude. There's sink. That's bad. Pushing the nose down. Gotta punch through that sink. Oh, thanks. I appreciate that. This is my patented hawk pit technology. Thanks for noticing. Just having fun with it. Trying to deliver some fun content for you guys. There we go. Look at that. That's a nice thermal right there. This is in metric. I'm used to dealing in feet, so that'd be, this is 2 meters a second. That'd be about 6 feet a second. Can't be right. Definitely climbing faster than that. At least we got access to that back ridge again. Ginger, if you like this overlay, watch some of my other streams. Follow me up, and I've got a Harrier one. I do a lot of Harrier flying in DCS. That's a lot of fun. I've been doing helicopter flying a lot lately. Mirage for dogfighting is a lot of fun. Just checking on all these signals here. Hope the stream's coming through okay for you guys. Let me know if anything's wonky. I kind of reconfigured some stuff. There we go. There's some real lift. So on the instrument panel, you can see there's that yellow triangle on the airspeed indicator. I tell you guys, I am rusty. I gotta get sharpened up before I go out and fly for real. But if I pull that back to the triangle, that's my best glide speed. And that's just a great target for climbing. See, we're getting way above this ridge now. Feet per minute. Thank you, Ginger. Thank you. I may need help with those conversions. Yeah, that sounds about right. 400 feet per minute. And so a glider like this typically has got a sink rate of about 1 to 200 feet per minute. This is a real nice streamlined glider. The club ships I fly are Grove 103s, and they're a good glider too, but they're more like a 200 meter per second, foot per second, excuse me, sink rate. In still air, that is. So yeah, look at that, we're getting into 3-4 meters per second, so that's a real nice average climb I'm used to on the Wasatch range. Get a nice pocket you climb at 600 to 800 feet per minute. Sometimes over 1,000, not uncommon. Okay, we've got some pretty good altitude. I'm going to run this ridge one more time at a pretty high speed, see if I get all the way up to CloudBase, and then we're going to tuck it and run up that ridge. Your best climb is usually right along the front of the ridge, just out in front of it. Sometimes right on top of the spine is best. It's funny how different every day can be. But usually, if you're just right in front of the ridge, that's your best climb band. And the winds are coming out from that direction, out southwest. Typical prevailing wind direction for northern Utah. And in real life, I'd be in violation here right now. I'm at 10,800. Class B for this airport, Salt Lake Airport out here, is 10,500. I'd be in the Class B right now. This is why it's so great to get out and simulate for a little bit before I go out and do it for real. Because that would have been definitely a pilot error. I'm going to go out and fly with my instructors for, at least 3 or 4 days before I'm ready to solo. Just rusty. Okay, at least the climb was successful. Coming up on 11,000 feet. I'm going to start venturing north. And there's the home airport. 42U Morgan. So again, my flight goals are to, 1, get altitude to exit the valley, which I think we just nailed that one, and then 2, to proceed north along this ridgeline all the way past that point out there. That's Ben Lomond Peak. And try to get up to that next peak potentially before we hop over the valley and work our way back to complete the flight. That should take at least an hour to do all of that. We'll see. Might go a little faster, actually. I'm in sync. You guys can hear that variometer. Pulling the speed back. You want to reduce airspeed in the lift and really maximize your climb. There's 11,000. Okay, time to bridge another gap here. This is Weber Canyon. And our goal is to get onto that next ridge. We're going to see the lift fall off as I end up in the, basically the Venturi effect of this canyon. The wind's just going to get sucked into there and it's going to suck me downward into the canyon. You can see it's starting already. So to counter that, the best thing and the only thing you can do as a glider pilot is just punch through it. Punch through an area that you know is sink. We're going to put the nose down and go fast. Get through that, sink as fast as possible. Pretty strong sink there. Let's see. This is what I'm talking about when I say AeroFly models. It's so nice because this is exactly what I would expect. Exactly. That should be about the worst of it. Yep. Starting to get into some zero sync. That's good. And I'll run this front ridge just like I did the other one. Here we go. There's the lift. Should be able to see her climbing from the external view. Definitely found some sink on the lee side of this mountain. That's okay, I'm gonna proceed north. We have enough altitude to proceed for sure. Get onto that next ridge, and then if we work into that one, that's where I think I'll find the greatest lift, is right on the front face of that ridge, the distance. So I'll put the nose down and cook it across this ridge. Thanks, Ginger. Let me know if it gets too loud. I really like listening to music when I fly, but sometimes it gets loud. It's been known to happen. Alright, let's see how the altitude's looking. Plenty of speed. I'm right up against maneuvering speed now. Sync looks to be expected, dropping about 400 to 600 feet per minute, right? Dropping at 1,000 now. Amazing how fast it can happen. Hello, Starry. Good to see you. Yeah, you said it. You said it, Ginger, and it happens, man. You get out there, things don't always go to plan. It's part of the excitement, honestly, of the sport. But there's plenty of options for me to land out here. You know, I'd be thinking about them, right? There's Ogden Airport right there. That's easy glide. You could make that glide here and back 3 times. And there's another airport around this bend called Brigham. And then, of course, you know, there's plenty of empty fields, which it wouldn't take much to land a glider. And you can land a glider in a lot of small stuff. Like that, right there across the mountain. Easy. Easy peasy. You can land a glider in that. That's part of the sport, and I know a lot of guys that they land their glider out 2 or 3 times a year. Perfectly fine, glider's intact. I personally do not fly that aggressively because, one, it's not my glider. I fly the club gliders, and I don't want to risk any damage and or mislocation of the glider. But one day I'll have my own. Might get a little more adventurous. We should be fine as far as altitude goes. I'll get over to this ridge and pick up altitude. I'm already in a nice climb here. Pull the speed back and maximize it. Yep, private pilot license is correct with the glider rating. The entry-level requirements are pretty easy, actually. You only need about 20 hours, but typically it takes a little longer than that to get your skill proficiency where it needs to be. At least it did for me. And they say I learned pretty quick, probably because of all my simulator time. That's my thoughts. But you know, it's not really hairy. Spend a summer doing it. There's no fuel to burn, so that saves on the cost a little bit. Alright, sounds like we're picking up some altitude now. As I'd hoped, picking up a nice band of lift here along the front ridge. So I shall climb again. This whole ridge should work. Yep, looking really good. So I'll pull my speed back, way back to best glide speed. I'm just gonna climb like an elevator. Beautiful climb, beautiful. Nice even lift across this whole ridge. And as you can see, we're moving right along on our flight path. There's the ridge that we started out on. And we've traveled probably 15 miles to get to here. Conditions are good. Just keep going. I could do another pass, cut back, go through that lift zone again. But I'm going to be a little more adventurous, push forward, try to discover some new terrain down here. This whole ridge should be working. And again, just considering my land out options, there's a runway right down there. Nope, that's the highway, my mistake. The runway's right around the ridge here. I've actually landed there once with my instructor. He has a really nice duo discus. He took me out flying in a couple times. And we did this exact same flight, actually. We ran this ridge on a good ridge day. Landed out. He got real brave, pushed us up, way up into those hills up there. Funny thing is, I'm the one that probably knew for sure we were going to land out, but he didn't really care. He was happy to land out. All part of the fun again. The howling sound, Starry, I'm not sure I hear it. It might be the music, buddy. Or wind noise, I'm not sure. Yeah, there's a blinking, or I can turn it up actually. A variometer, you hear that? Gives you an audio signal, lets you know how the lift is. It's really nice, help you keep your head up a little bit so you can just listen. Like there, right? There's great lift. I'm gonna go ahead and work it. There you go. Now you can hear it without the music. And that's what we listen to, yeah. Pretty much the whole flight. You can turn it down if it gets to be too obnoxious. Turn it up. That was good to go back. We got about 500 feet out of that little S-turn I made. And you can see just visually how much better our glide scenario is here. So, pressing onwards. Ginger, hang on a second. I'm seeing your questions there. Yeah, so you control your speed with the pitch, right? And the left instrument's the airspeed indicator. I believe that's what you're talking about. Oh, no, you're talking about this one. You know, I think what that is a McCready. Like a glide computer. But it might just be a redundant variometer. See how they're working together? I think that's exactly what it is. That's not uncommon in a glider. In fact, almost every glider I've flown in has got two variometers. A lot of times one's electronic and the other's, you know, not a non-electronic. I can't think of the word right now. But those are telling me basically it's an interesting instrument. It tells you what the air is doing. Not what your aircraft is doing so much, but what the air itself is doing, if you're in rising air or sinking air. And I think I actually need to correct myself on that. It's really a measure of how the aircraft is flying through the air. But we use it to identify if we're in rising air or sinking air. Yeah, because it does include the aircraft's sink rate. Yeah, mechanical, thank you. Mechanical analog. So there, we're just flying through a slight pocket of rising air. I'll back off my airspeed to that triangle, which will give me best glide. If I would actually back it off almost to the stall if I wanted the minimum sink to absolutely climb at the best rate. So let's try that. Get up to CloudBase here. And this far north, I'd be outside of any Class B considerations. Can just fly pretty much VFR rules for 10,000 feet and above. So we're climbing at 2 meters a second, which we calculate is about 400 feet per minute climb. It's pretty good. Take that all day. And it's really fun when you get into good climb like this, because you get up to the CloudBase where you really can't climb any further, and you put the nose down and you just continue to go really fast without losing any altitude at all. Yeah, exactly. I think CloudBase is about 1,000 feet above my head right now, if I had to guess. I really do. Maybe 500. So yeah, exactly. I'm kind of up against my altitude limit here for really being able to fly around. Legally, that is. So I'll put the nose down and just start translating some of this lift energy into speed, which should help us get around the terrain a little faster. Be kind of cool. Putting the nose down now. We'll work this next ridge, and then at the end of it, there's not much to do except potentially hop up into that terrain. Or, as I think I'll do, I'll cross over to this ridge and work that ridge back. There's an airfield in the middle, Logan Regional. That's a good divert option if the traverse doesn't work. That's a long traverse, 10 miles or so. Long glide. Should be synced through that whole area too, so I'll get up to this ridge, get as close to CloudBase as I dare, and then hightail it to the east. Yeah, this is the Utah map in AeroFly. I'm in northern Utah. It's kind of my actual soaring experience is all bounded by this area. So this is actually using simulation for the purpose of simulation this time. A lot of times I'm just flying a Harrier around and that sort of thing, but I'm actually trying to practice a little bit. I wish I was up flying for real today. Yeah, that's right. That's right, buddy. Logan. You can actually see it just barely out there. Alright, I'm going to push the nose down, pick up some speed, probably lose a little altitude, head for that ridge. Thanks for that METAR report. I'm not sure I trust that wind measurement though. I actually fly gliders out of that airfield sometimes too. I usually fly out of Morgan just because it's closer to where I live. But Logan is a really, really fun place to fly because the no, it doesn't actually use real-time weather. It doesn't. That's really cool. Is that a pretty typical feature of Microsoft Flight Sim? It'd be kind of interesting to simulate what's really going on out there today, because today is a really pretty day. More of a thermal flying day than a ridge flying day out there. But yeah, anyway, flying here out of a Logan's fun because there's all this flat land you can see. You can pretty much land anywhere. So it's pretty easy to get brave. Work that back ridge. I've taken it all the way up to Idaho. And it's just because you can land anywhere. Things go sideways, you're fine. Worst case, you got to get your buddies in the trailer out. That's cool, Geriatric. How do you feel like Flight Sim does as far as modeling environmental situations, environmental conditions. It's this thermal stuff that I find is really hard for these guys to get right. Ridge flying next hardest, and that's why I like AeroFly. It really gets it right. But thermals, man, I've yet to find a sim that really gets thermals right. At least the Rocky Mountain style thermal. I guess they're a little different if you're out in Kansas, flat plain area. They're a little bit bigger, wider. It's probably a little closer to what I'm used to with simulated thermals in Flight Sim or Condor. I think it's just a difficult thing for them to model. It would be difficult for me to model. It's hard to fly it, even though I've done it for hours. You know, it's hard to understand at a fundamental level exactly what's going on all the time. So, as you can see, I'm getting right up on CloudBase, which is kind of the lesser of two evils. I need the altitude as best as possible to make the crossing, and I think it's time to go. So I'm going to put the nose down and hook over, probably overfly Logan. Yeah, I'm going to do that, overfly Logan, and then I can proceed north further. Here we go. Well, you can see, guys, that we're not sinking as bad as we were before. And that's good. So I've been pulling my speed back just a little bit here. Try to minimize the sink rate, and then I'll get on that ridge and should have no problems getting back up to altitude. Logan area traffic, glider 29 are overflying the airport, 9,000 feet, heading southeast to northwest. Logan area traffic. Perfect. So we're right over the airfield. Definitely have our escape option intact. I'm gonna cook it, get on this ridge now. Do some real soaring. Trimming for a little bit higher airspeed. This ridge is gonna be working fantastically. I know it. Logan area traffic glider 29er. I'm going to be working the ridge south to north, running about 9,000 feet. Logan area traffic. There comes the lift. Perfect. Nice strong lift right here. Back off the speed, we'll take advantage of it. Bring the variometer up. Listen to that lift. Pushing right in them in sync, right on the edge of stall now. And we'll work this spot right here. Really need the altitude. Climb in 400 feet per minute. Oh, nice. It's even stronger over here. I think I hooked into a thermal, actually. This isn't ridge lift. This is a nice thermal building off this peak. Very, very, very realistic to where I would expect to find something. So kudos to AeroFly for the fantastic aero modeling, thermal and wind effects. I'm really starting to really like their thermal model too. And just like that, it'll fall off. When you fall out of that thermal, you can expect a whole lot of sink. Exactly what I would expect. So it's time to bug out down this canyon until I find the lift again. There it is. Nice. Real strong lift right here, right on this ridge top. Perfect. There we go. Yeah, that's what we're looking for. It's a really challenging sport, guys. This is exactly what it's like. You're out there and you're just trying to stay right on top of this point of lift. Zigzagging back and forth. Just to stay right on top of it. And a lot of times terrain is a serious consideration, you know, it's really close. That's one of the more challenging aspects of it for me. I'm just terrified of flying near terrain. But a lot of times that is right where the lift is. Something that hopefully experience will soothe a little bit. In the sim, I'm not nearly as afraid to go do something like this and go right up to the terrain. But I would never do that in a real glider. Even though it's probably a perfectly safe maneuver. Just scares me. But you can see it had its reward, right? I picked up a little lifter there. That's part of the challenges of the sport is a lot of times you gotta do stuff that, I don't know, it's not as comfortable as you'd like. That's what holds me back as a glider pilot. Let's try this ridge over here. It's a little dangerous because it's going to put me behind this other one. And getting behind terrain can be problematic, to say the least. But I can see there's an exit down there. If I run this whole canyon, I can exit through the mouth of it. About a mile down there. So we'll give it a shot. If it doesn't work, we'll just run this whole ridge down there. But it looks like a really nicely defined ridge line, which should have a pretty good kick of wind coming off of it, just because of the shape of it. There it is. Perfect. Perfect. Nice, strong lift. Almost 1,000 feet a minute lift. You can see that bird climb. I'm on the lee side now. See that? And I'm slow. I'm gonna lose some altitude on this one. Back in it. There it is. Back on the windward side. See if I can run this ridge down here. It's easier when you don't have to stay on a single point. If I can just run this very short ridge back and forth, it'll be easier to gain altitude for sure. Okay, the lift's gonna start tapering off. I'm gonna work my way back the way I came. And yeah, I climbed maybe 800 feet. Not too bad. So we'll work this ridge back to the point and then do it again. Lift is gone. And it's getting a little weaker the higher we get. That makes sense, right? This ridge lift kind of confined to the terrain a little bit. Still some lift up here for sure, but it's a little harder to find, a little spottier. Still not too bad. It'll get us up to 11,000 easily. And then I'm going to proceed south. Look towards completing the flight about 20 minutes out from the destination airfield. Things go well. This last haul is going to probably be the most technical, challenging of them of all. I'm going to have to somehow get over that ridge out there in the distance, which is at about 9,000 feet. And there's not a whole lot of lift sources between this next peak and that one. I may try to work around the front edge there. Might get some lift off the front of that edge. We'll just have to play it by ear. And, you know, the winds are more or less coming from that direction, so I'll be flying upwind, which means horrible, horrible glide ratios. So I'm really going to try to maximize my climb here so that I have the best conditions going into it. But if I can get over that ridge, I think I'm in the clear. Home base is basically right along that vector, that small mountain standing by itself out there. Hey Ginger, welcome back. Which ratios are you talking about there? Also, I was trying to answer your questions there about track IR and whatnot, and I'm not sure if my mic was muted back then, so let me know if you didn't get answers. Try to run you through it again. I use track IR with the you know, the head unit. Well, a 1:60 glide ratio would be outstanding, but I think it's typically expressed the other way around, 60-1. I'm not sure there are any gliders that'll do 60-1. Maybe some sort of research ship, but that's an exceptionally good glide ratio. 50-1, I think, is kind of the pinnacle of the sport right now. Some of these really nice single ships, kind of like this one, single seaters, can do that. They can barely scratch 50-1 if you're a damn good pilot. I'm in a club ship that does 36-1, which is pretty stinking good for just kind of a cheapo glider two-seater. And in practice, we divide that in half for a safety factor. So we'll say if it's a 36-1, it's really an 18-1. Which in effect means for every 1,000 feet I've got, I can go about 3 miles. There's KLGU. As far as track IR, I think what I was saying earlier is that this this unit, light unit on my head, it's not from the Track IR Natural Point company. It's an aftermarket made by a guy from Poland that's selling them on the DCS forums, and it's excellent. It's wireless. It's got a lithium polymer battery in it, so you can charge it. It lasts for like 6-7 hours or something like that. Charges really fast. It's about $40 or so, but man, it's way better than the one you get from Natural Point, in my humble opinion. I'll look it up for you if you're interested. Kind of the slow crawl back now. I'm downwind. I'm going to try to work my way along this front ridge here. If I get onto this front ridge, I can probably cook it a little bit. But I've got to make the hop over that terrain there. That's going to be the hard part. I'm feeling a little impatient, so I'm going to push on it just a little bit. Yeah, the active IR lights are definitely just a little bit better. Not a ton better, but a little better. So I've got my speed up now to 150 meters per second, or excuse me, kilometers an hour. These metric units are really throwing me. So, you know, it's like 120 knots or something like that. Maybe 90 knots is probably closer. And my sink isn't bad, right? I'm losing a little bit, but not a lot. Meanwhile, I'm covering ground a whole lot faster. Very much a sport of compromise. Sometimes you have to take the disadvantage to kind of work the terrain better, work the conditions better. I still have so much to learn about flying these gliders. That's why I'm not real adventurous. Usually stay really close to an airfield. But this is a typical flight. I mean, some of these long-range ridge flights in between are a little sketchy. I'm not sure I would make this glide back, honestly. This is definitely, it would push me technically to make this next glide. Because I've got the wind coming against me. The lift is fairly flat, right? I'm not picking up a ton of it. I'm hoping to have better luck on the front of this ridge. But there's guys that do this all the time. It's definitely possible. But you can see how alarming it is. You get into conditions like this, and you're at this decision point. Am I going to go for it, or am I going to give up and go to this airfield that wasn't my destination airfield all along? It's not where I departed from. Really pushes your decision-making skills. all the while. You're trying to watch the weather. What's it doing? These clouds are really fun to watch in real life. You can just see the thermals building the clouds real time, and it's almost like it's in fast forward. God, that's terrible. Look at that sink. Putting the nose down again. Still got that airport made. Big time. Ginger, I'd love to fly with you, man. I really am enjoying helicopters in DCS. I'm not great at it yet, but I've done some, you can watch some of my videos if you're interested, flying the Gazelle. And it's hard, you know? I feel like I'm getting the hang of it, but I know I'm not there yet because I still kill myself a lot doing something stupid. But they're a hoot to fly. That Mi-8, I've only taken it off and flown it around the pattern once. That was really fun too. Alright, coming out of the sink, and we definitely lost some altitude. 1,000 feet? I want to learn to fly that Ka-50. That thing can carry some serious weaponry. Lift. There it is. There's a little lift here. That's what I needed. So, decision-making time, right? This is where kind of I need to make my call. Can I make it or not? And it's all going to depend on how this ridge works. I'll probably fly it back and forth a few times. If I get up to 11,000 or so, I think I can make it. So I'll pull the speed back, just squeeze the ridge for as much lift as I can get out of it. Trimming. Not a whole lot of lift. So we'll go back through that pocket. Yeah, these big monitors are the way to go, Ginger. I'm running a 55-inch curved Samsung. I actually have a picture of it down there. If you're on WebView, you can see my setup. And it's almost like VR good. My field of view in front of me is almost one-to-one, like you say. And the 4K is where it's at, absolutely. The new VR headsets are exciting. I'm excited about the new Oculus. Might upgrade. That's not bad. 600 feet a minute here or there. Maybe we will get home. Yeah, this is working out really good. I'm at 10,000 already. So what I'll do is I'll get all the way up to CloudBase. And then I'm going to keep climbing, if you will, by putting the nose down and gathering up all that energy into speed. Because you can see I'm just crawling right now, climbing at the edge of stall. And I don't want to depart the area at that speed. I want to have the same lift vector, but at 150 kilometers an hour speed. Because then I've got all that energy stored up in the airframe, and I can just gun it for home. I'll keep working that ridge. Should be a little lift along that ridge, and then I'll hook it upwind to go around that peak. That's going to be the hardest part. Climbing nicely. Yeah, Ginger, I've got 2 sim pits, man, side by side, for instructing friends. It's kind of like having a pool table in your house, you know? Except I've got 2 flight sims. I go out and do all kinds of cool stuff when my friends come over. So, falling out of the lift a little bit here. Not sure if I'm just off the vector or if it's tapering off now that I'm up at altitude. Maybe a little bit of both. Yeah, just kind of a grind here. This happens a lot too. You're in the glider, and it's easy to get impatient because here we are climbing at 100 feet a minute, right? Basically, 200. You just want to get going somewhere. But sometimes you got to just work with what you got. This is the first source of real lift we found in 10 minutes or so. I'm not going to say no to it. And the other thing that'll bite you is the conditions change. You'll be flying all day, and it's one way, and you can know what to expect, and then something atmospherically changes. A temperature, critical temperature changes, the instability changes, the winds change, something changes, and it's like a brand new game. You got to kind of rethink the whole deal. Sometimes the thermals just stop, and all these cumuluses you see everywhere just stop appearing. There's no more thermal activity. Or if it is, it's low lying. It's below the dew point temperature, and so they're not visible anymore. You can't see the cumulus marker. And this is about the point in the day where that would happen. Usually you launch in the afternoon, 2, 3 o'clock for a good summer flight, and it'll change on you right at about 4 or 5 o'clock. That's when the temperature cools off a little bit. Thermals start dying off. It's real easy to be caught way away from home. You can see those ridges over there. That's where we started. We've got to get to the backside of those for 42U Morgan. Almost at 11,000. Just about reached the goal for the altitude. I'm going to proceed south with what I said, bearing in mind. Conditions are dwindling. We've got to start making our way back. Hopefully we'll hit 11,000 on the way. Close enough, I'm going to call it. Nice. And I'm going to start putting the nose down, carry some speed out of this lift, just like I talked about. Pushing it up to 150, maybe even 180 kilometers an hour. And we're going to gun it, go straight around that ridge, either right over the top of it if we've got the altitude, or around the front side. And I'd like to go right through the top if possible, because flying upwind will rob me of a lot of that flight energy. And I'll be low. Hucking thermals down low in that valley will be not easy. Still climbing, 11,000. We're going to hit our exit criteria. Putting the nose down for speed. See if we can get even more speed out of it. The lift's falling off. Okay, this is it. All of that preparation, all of that thermaling leads up to this flight. this glide, if you will, a calculated glide. Kind of did the numbers, figured out what we needed to get over this ridge, and we hit the inner entry point for the glide at 11,000. We're still above it, which is great. We've got lots of speed to carry us through any sort of sink over here. And this is the part where we just kind of hope for the best. It's a little risky. There's nowhere to land out here. I'd have to turn around and work my way all the way back down to at least these farm fields. And potentially to Logan if I really wanted to make a civilized landing. But just kind of telling you what my decision process is like if this was real. I'd be really thinking about this stuff right now. That's the sort of thing I'd say, okay, about to run out of lift. That lift starts sputtering like that. But I think we're gonna make it. That spot, that clearing right there, we could make it right through there, I think. I'm going to keep the speed up, even if it costs a little altitude. Keep the energy, momentum energy intact in this glider. And then this is the part that I still struggle with in the road glider, is being super soft on the controls. Because every single adjustment will cost you a little drag. You just want to let the glider almost fly itself for this critical glide. Still in some zero sync, that's encouraging. Flying upwind, maybe 3 or 4 miles to that crossing, and then we are home free. I can almost see the glider port back there. Yeah, Ginger, I used to fly the Mirage a lot in DCS, and it's just a great airplane to fly. I'd love to fly with you. I don't know how to fly the A10C yet. If you could run me through some startup stuff, I'd be much appreciative. Because I don't know the startup process. Looks like a hoot though, man. I love flying the Harrier and using all the laser-guided weapons. It looks like the A10's got just tons of that stuff in waiting. And then, yeah, I fly the Gazelle, you fly all the other ones. I'm sure we could teach each other a thing or two. Man, this is going really well. It's slow going, but it's working. Still at 11,000 feet. Barely lost anything. Definitely gonna make it. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see that part of your message that you haven't flown him yet. If you're kind of looking for the easiest entry point, I'd definitely check out the Mirage. It's really easy to get the hang of. Cockpit's pretty straightforward. Definitely go into the custom settings and switch it to English labels for yourself. And you'll be able to figure it out pretty quick. It's a lot of fun to dogfight in. Very maneuverable. Kind of interesting to toy with. So you can see my directional vector says we're going right over that point. It's on the left side there, right near my my airspeed. It says we're just pointed right on the west side of that clearing. So even though my nose is pointed dead ahead at 190, our actual true velocity vector is about 165 with the wind vector. And starting to lose some altitude at last. Not too bad, maybe 100 feet a minute descent. Maybe 200 feet a minute once converted. But looking like we're going to make the glide, and that's really assuring. It still can throw us for a loop. I mean, you wouldn't believe how you could find some pocket of sink right there, and the whole picture changes. Like you couldn't see that valley over there because we were so much lower. But it's looking pretty good. We may yet encounter that sink coming through here. I'll be prepared to put the nose down. Yeah, isn't that amazing? Just very fortunate line that I picked. Could have definitely gone differently. And this is where it makes a big difference having a really nice glass slipper, fiberglass bird. You get such better glides. It's hard to define mathematically what I mean by that, but you know, just the numbers when you're kind of stressing, pushing it outside of its comfort zone, if you will, trying to fly upwind, a tough glide like this. That's where these streamlined ships just seem to do it. I don't know how to put it any other way than they just seem to punch through it and don't have a problem doing it. Where in the club ship I fly, it's a Grove 103, it's still fiberglass, it's still streamlined, but just not to the precision of one of these really nice German birds. It just doesn't seem to have the punch through power. It gets bogged down. I get terrible sink rates. I've got, you know, trouble keeping the speed up without drag imparting on the airframe. So that 36:1 glide ratio doesn't tell all, even though it's got a great glide ratio by the numbers. It's almost like it's not as good as it should be compared to a 45:1. It's not 75%, it's more than 50% of the capability. But when I go fly with my instructor in his duodiscus, this is what it's like. We'll cross some huge open expanse where I'd be used to just getting battered by sink, and his will just slip right through it like it was nothing. And that's very hard to put your finger on why that is. Relative to the music, yeah, thanks for that note and that compliment. Yeah, this is M83. Fantastic flying music. Their whole album, this is from the Oblivion soundtrack, and the song's called Star Waves. But the whole dang album is just great, great music. And we got the clearing made. So I'm actually going to do something, may seem a little rash, but I think it's actually a risk reducer. I'm going to put the nose down now. I'm going to go ahead and accept a little drag on the airframe. Probably take the altitude hit. But I want to really have some speed and momentum and just punch through this area, which I expect I'm going to get some sink finally. Because I need to clear both of these ridges and get into that valley. And for the sake of my personal education, let's look at this this HUD. It's really cool. So yeah, my vector is exactly where I was hoping it would be. Just want to sweep the south side here of this hill, running across the back here. And that looks like the shortest distance across, right where that velocity indicator is at about 170 heading. And this glide is getting a little suspect. If I'm not careful, I could get caught up this canyon. You can see what I mean by up a canyon, right? I mean, there's nowhere to land in here. This may force an abort. I may have to turn back. We'll see how it goes. There's the sink. There's the sink. Punching through it. That's an abort. Absolutely aborting this. Death on a stick in there. Look at my altitude. I've got to find some lift ASAP. Tuck and run. Tuck and run. Alright. I think I got out of the really bad sink there. I'm gonna pop up. See if I can get some lift here. Not great. Not great at all. My next hope is that ridge right there. That might have a little kick of lift, just enough that I can work myself back up to 10,000 feet. But it's going to cost me to get over there. If that doesn't work, I'm probably hightailing it for one of those fields. Here we go. Pulling the speed back now. Try and normalize my sink into at least a zero sink. Yeah, I definitely would have crashed. If I had kept going through there, I definitely would have crashed. This isn't a great, pretty picture, but I've got those fields made down there, no problem. You guys might get to see a land-out landing yet. Here we go. Here's the ridge. I'm hoping it'll have a little bit of kick on it. I don't need much. Tiny lift here, tiny lift, just like I thought there might be, but not much. Perfect, perfect. So I'm pushing it right up against min sink. Recover our glide. Trim back, trim back. I'm going to put in little flaps too. Really help me stay in this glide. Yeah, Ginger, you're right. Nothing better than that nice ping, ping, ping when you're in trouble out here in a glider. Hear that nice perky sound of the winter Vario saying, you're good, stay here, just stay here. And I'm climbing nicely, back above 8,000 feet. Hopefully the lift will prevail, you know, up into a higher altitude. It may taper off though. I might not be able to ride this much higher than 9,000 or so. We'll see. I'm right in the stall. Need to get my speed up a little bit. I think I'm bleeding some of this energy out in the stall. Perfect. Cool. Climbing slowly, 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 but climbing. And if I could just make it around this front ridge, I'll be golden. I bet there's a little lift on that front ridge too. But I am nervous about going over there. I'm not going unless I get another 1,000 feet. And at this point, we almost have Logan made. I mean, I think I could make it, but it would be maybe irresponsible to try to make it. It would be more responsible to just land out at this point. That's how low I am. I knew this glide back upwind was going to be challenging. There's not much lift between Logan and Morgan. And in fact, I don't think I've ever successfully been able to glide through here. I've always had to turn back. I've done it once in AeroFly though. Last time I streamed up AeroFly, I think I came through here. And it was tight. I went through that ridge and I made it that time, but it was funny because I actually had worse initial conditions and better, you know, a better outcome than I did this time. I was too tight to the lee side of that ridge. The Venturi effect of that wind just getting sucked over that mountain. That's horrible sink back there. I shouldn't have gone so close to that lee side. Very pleased to be approaching 9,000 feet. All right, one more little figure eight here, and then we're gonna move forwards. Try to punch it for home. Yep. The thing I try to keep in mind with these gliders, no matter which one it is that I'm flying, is that they all technically fly so flat. They fly 36 to 1, 26 to 1, 50 to 1, right? All of those triangles are still very, very flat compared to the wind itself. The wind is really what's going to make all the difference. Where you fly the aircraft into is going to determine whether you're going up or down. Where that glide ratio really matters is when you need to fly through some dog crap aero, wind conditions. That's when you can punch through stuff. And I think that's about what we're going to do. We're at 9,100. I'm going to now start putting the nose down. Get up to best glide. And then go about 10 to 15 knots above that. And punch it over to that ridge. And I'm expecting to sink, but I think we can clear it. And I know there's farm fields we can land on the backside of there. So from a safety standpoint, it's a reasonable glide. Trimming to put the nose down. Pushing that speed up at the expense of maybe some efficiencies in the glide, because I got to push through the oncoming wind and also the sink I expect to encounter in the next half mile or so. So far, so good. Try and stay on this ridge as high as possible. That's where the best lift will be. Not too shabby. We're about 3,000 feet above the valley floor down here. Plenty of land out options over here. Landing in an airfield is more or less out of the question at this point in the glide. This is a true cross-country glide where I'm gonna have to fly on the elements to make it back. But definitely land out options from a safety standpoint are all abound. Whereas back there where we were, there were none. There were none. That's why I had to turn around. And now I should be able to work this ridge. I think that was the hurdle right there. Just crossed it. Generally home free to that next valley over, just past the reservoir. good. Trimming. There's some lift right there. Let's work it. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. 400 foot a minute climb. We'll hang here for a minute or two, get a quick 1,000. And then put the nose down again, punch it for home. Might be able to make it in one big glide. Really putting on the brakes here. You can see I'm right near the edge of stall, guys. That's where the best climb is. Right on the edge of the stall. About 2 or 3 knots above it. And there's home, right below the nose. So I think we've got the glide made. I'm gonna punch it, probably stay a little bit over the terrain where I expect there'll be better lift conditions. And we're almost at 10,000, yeah, so this is gonna be an easy glide. Here it goes. I'd really like to try to simulate some wave conditions. This Wasatch Ridge makes great waves in real life. They go up 18, 30,000 feet even. It's just that's Class A up there, so we don't fly that high. But right up to 18. And these ridges are at 10, so you can imagine we're way up above the ridges, flying lift that's up there, 4 or 5 knots of lift. Stable, smooth, crisp lift that you can fly almost at max speed on the glider. We're pushing it way past maneuvering speed up there because the air's just not turbulent at all, as laminar as you can imagine. That's a lot of fun. So I'm going to try and simulate those conditions, but that's an even harder mechanism to model than ridge lift, I think. Supposedly, Condor will do wave lift. I might toy with that a little bit. Alright, in the clear. Got the glide made. It's like a total glide time of about 2 hours by the time I touch down. Pretty typical glider flight. Like I say, you launch at about 21 Zulu, which is, 3 p.m. And then at about 5 p.m. the thermals start dying off a little bit. Conditions start to calm down a little bit. Time to head back. Those wave flights we can get out earlier. We can get out noon, sometimes in the morning even. You can fly a lot longer and a lot farther because you're up at 18,000. You can really make the case for a long glide at that point. You can hit any airport in the area from 18,000 feet. And I can just barely, I don't think you guys will be able to see it yet, but I can just barely pick out the visual on the airport. Right in the center of the view. So, looking pretty good. I think I'll make the call. Morgan County traffic, glider 29er. About 5 miles north of the field, inbound for landing. Morgan traffic. Like I said, guys, I thought it'd be about an hour. We were over on that ridge, the front of that ridge. And it ended up being a little longer than that because I got waylaid there on the way back. That was at least a half-hour delay trying to recover altitude to come back. That's where it can get really dicey when the conditions are fading on you and it's late in the flight and you got yourself far from home. Gotta be careful. But we ran all the way up that ridge, kind of hooked a right at that mountain if I'm not mistaken, and then crossed the valley and worked our way back upwind to Morgan here. It's a pretty decent flight, pretty decent glider flight. Probably about 150 kilometers, I guess, flown. Maybe a little less. Morgan County Airport, glider 29er, 3 miles to the north, inbound for landing, Morgan County traffic. Yeah, geriatric, we are flying at a pretty good crab angle right now. I mean, I'm pretty much on this vector right here, with my nose pointed a full 20 degrees to the right. Winds are going to make it for an interesting landing. I'm going to have to really think about that. I'm going to have to slip it in, I think. getting pretty close. Start running the checklist. Traffic, in this case, is clear. I've been making the calls on the radio, so you communicate with anyone. Winds again are strong, 20 knots. That's pretty much at the surface outside of operating conditions for the glider, but that's just how the sim is set up. I have to model. Up at Ridgetop, we'd fly, 20 knot winds all the time, but down in the valley, they'd be like 12. And so I'm not sure how the sim models it. It could be a full 20 down there when I get down there. Usually, in real life, though, it's extremely calm. We have to fly through some shear on the way down. Sometimes on the approach, I'll hit some turbulence as I'm flying through the wind shear. But by the time I go to touchdown, it's really benign. Anyway, so traffic's clear. Winds are definitely going to dictate a left pattern on runway 21. As far as an approach speed, I'm going to fly a little faster because of those winds. So ordinarily I'd fly in right at that triangle at best glide, but with the airspeed component, or the wind component, you're going to want to step on it a little bit on the approach, especially on the turn to base, for instance. Make sure I make it in all the way to the runway. Flaps are established. I think I will kind of punch them forward for now. So traffic, winds, airspeed, flaps, undercarriage is ready to deploy, but I'll hold on that. Trim for selected airspeed. Ready to look and land. Go ahead and check those brakes now. Want to always do a spoiler check before you land. And I've got tons of altitude, so I'm going to go ahead and drop the gear too. Get that off the checklist. And I definitely want the drag anyway, so I can descend. Morgan County traffic, glider 29er on initial point for crosswind, left runway 21, Morgan traffic. Tell you what, guys, I'm going to pull the gear back in and we'll just do some aerobatics. It's a not uncommon way that we'll burn off some energy when we get back. Kind of a little celebratory loop and chandelles, things like that. Good way to burn off energy. That alarm's a landing gear warning. It'll tell me, hey, usually your spoilers aren't out unless you're landing. It'll say, hey dude, your gear's not down, since I've got it retracted. Alright, cool. That puts us down at a better pattern altitude. Airfield's at 5,000, almost exact, 5,020. So this is a pretty good altitude for us to be at here in the upwind. Alright, one more time on the checklist. Traffic, clear, winds, dictate left pattern, runway 21. Airspeed, I'm going to set my airspeed about 130 for the approach. So I'll start trimming for that now. Flaps, I think I'll deploy half flaps. I'm not usually used to using flaps, honestly, in a glider. I'll try half. Undercarriage, down and locked. Checking spoilers. Spoilers are good. Trim for selected airspeed of, like I said, 130, maybe 140. I want to really punch through this wind, otherwise it'd be a little slower. And I'm at perfect altitude. I want to be 1,000 feet as I make the turn to downwind. Morgan County traffic, glider 29er turning, crosswind, left pattern 21, Morgan traffic. Can definitely feel the turbulence here. I'm flying through some of the wind shear. Morgan traffic, glider 29er turning downwind, left pattern, runway 21, Morgan traffic. Alright, I really need to descend high in the pattern. I'm going to maintain speed, so I got to put my nose down a little more. And I got to figure out this crosswind component. Real high in the pattern, full spoilers. Morgan traffic, glider 29er turning base, left pattern, runway 21, Morgan traffic. Morgan traffic, glider 29er, final approach, runway 21. Alright, working the slip. Land downfield. Kind of flat here. Alright, full spoilers. Flare. Well, that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed the glider flight. That was definitely helpful in knocking off a little rust. I have contacted my instructors, and I'm going to get out there, so I'm going to start doing a lot of glider flying. If you guys enjoyed it, follow. You probably catch the next stream I'll do. It's just good practice to simulate some of this stuff. Little hairy. I didn't know if I was going to make it back there at the end, but thanks for watching, guys. I enjoyed it. Oh, I appreciate that, Chops. I'm actually not affiliate yet. I do appreciate the offer for tips, but if you'd follow me, man, that would mean just as much to me. And you know, one day I'll go sign the papers and become affiliate. I just haven't had time yet. You know, I'm gonna sign a multi-page contract with Amazon. I guess I want to read my print, but I just do it for fun anyway. So catch you guys next time. Thanks for watching.